Hello, hello. How is everyone doing? I hope you're having a good day. And if you're not, I hope my smile can help a little and make you have a nice day or have a good day today. Um, yeah, I just finished working out and I was just thinking while I was working out, right? I was like, let me come here and talk about how I ended up in America, right? How I ended up here. Yeah, I was thinking, I said, there's some stories that need to be told. Because today, I really don't talk about it much, and I'm glad I have this platform now to be able to talk about it, how I ended up in America, staying permanently here. And I think about it sometimes, and sometimes they say fate, right? Fate does take you places where you didn't even know you could end up. But for United States, I've always wanted to live here. Even when I was little, I'm going to tell you guys my story. Even when I was little, like when I used to come here for summer camps from Nigeria, and I just loved it. Every time we came here for summer camp, we used to go to summer camp in Bedford, Virginia. I just loved it. And I always said once I graduate high school, I wanted to come here and go to college. Okay? I've always came here since I was little. And it was always the place. I don't know. Have you guys ever been to places where, even in the same country you are in right now, maybe you're in Nigeria, you're in Ghana, you're in Jamaica, you're in Europe, whichever country in Europe you're in, or whichever country you're in. Have you ever been in that country and said you want to live here, or if you already live in that country, you go to a state or a city in that country and you decide, man, I would like to live here at some point, or when you're done with something, I would love to move to this place. That was how America. We used to travel to Europe a lot. We came here as from 12, 13 years old in my middle school year, when we were able to travel for camps on our own. My parents used to send me and my immediate older sister. Here is 7 of us. I have 6 siblings. So my mom used to send me and my immediate older sister here for Legacy camp. It's called Legacy Global Youth Village in Bedford, Virginia. It was a lot of money in dollars then. My parents would have to pay a lot of dollars. If you convert, then it was about $5,000 per person. If you convert $5,000 around 2000, and I graduated 99. Around 2004, 2003, and you continuously go every year. If you convert how much $4,000 or $5,000 was then, and for 2 people, that was a lot of money. But thankfully, my parents were okay. Financially, they were okay. I don't want to say they were wealthy, they were rich. I'm just going to say God was good to them. Up till today, it's still good to them. Okay, because everything I do, I give thanks to God. And so when we travel to Legacy for summer camps, I just loved it. I love the people. I love the country itself. And I always used to say, once I graduate high school, and I told my parents, once I graduate high school, I want to come here, because the way it was in my household, before you graduate high school, your last year, they will ask you, because they have to start processing everything for you to go to that country. I have 3 older sisters and I have 3 younger brothers, so I'm the middle child. Okay, so some of my sisters picked England. They went to London to go to school, and then me and my immediate older sister picked here. But here comes this story, right? This is why I want to tell this story today. And everybody's story is different, but how I ended up staying here. I've always came here for camps, for summer. My uncle lives here, still lives here up till today. And he used to live in Atlanta before he moved to Chicago. That's why I tell people I did grow up in Chicago, because I've spent most of my life here than Nigeria. I've been here 20-something years. And I left Nigeria when I was 19 years old. Don't calculate how old I am. Yeah, I said 20-something years. I left Nigeria when I was about 18, 19 years old. Anyway, after my second year law school in a private university. But anyway, I've always said I want to come here, I want to stay here, but I don't like to tell my story to my friends because we all kind of grew up privileged, private boarding school. You had like dignitaries' kids going to the same school as you. So I just want to like kind of give an hint. I don't want to go too much into it. It's not about the money, it's about my story, right? So some of my friends don't understand. Most of my friends, I never told them I was paying my own college tuition, like working. They knew I was working, but they didn't know I was paying my own bills, my own college tuition, and all that kind of stuff. But that's why I said today, it's by the grace of God that I turned out to be what I am today, who I am today. I just give thanks to God, because if it wasn't for him, I could have came to this country and just be whatever, and not be where I am today. I can say I'm a little bit successful, right? I can afford most of the things life has to offer financially. So God is good. So this is my story. We used to come here, travel on vacations like Christmas time, most holidays like Easter, whatever. We used to go to Europe because my parents used to travel a lot for business. And we would travel. Sometimes they're in Europe that they can't come when we have like Easter holiday and stuff. Easter holiday was short because we're all boarding kids. I tell people sometimes, like, I grew up in a boarding house. We call it boarding house. I grew up as a boarding student. I lived most of my elementary school, middle school, and high school, almost all of it in boarding school. So I always say most of my life in Nigeria was lived in boarding school. That's why I'm very close. People that I grew up with, I always say when I introduce my friends to people that I went to boarding school with that was there right from day one, I always say, this is my sister, or this is like my sister, because they saw me like when I was little. We all grew puberty together. We all went through puberty together. They know me like the palm, both sides of my hand. You know what I'm saying? So because I grew up with those people in the boarding school. So went to boarding school, really expensive, nice boarding school. It used to be one of the best schools in Africa, if not the best school in Africa. I don't want to say the name. If not the best school in Africa back then. I graduated in 1999. If it was one of the best private school, if not the best private school then. Even Abiola's kids, may he so rest in peace, Abiola's kids, I don't know what happened to her. I hope someday I can find her. Every now and then I search on Instagram to see if I can find her, and I don't find her. Even some of Abiola's kids, they brought them to our school to stay there for a while and go to school for a while before they send them to London when the Abiola debacle, Abiola's issues then was going on in Nigeria. May he so rest in peace. So it's like a lot of president's kids, politicians' kids, a lot of like the wealthy people, the who of who in the East, South, in the North, they were all there. I don't want to call names. No, I just want to tell my story here, how I ended up in America, in the United States of America. So I went to school, went to a boarding school from elementary, middle school, and high school, same school. Went there, and I'm thinking, once I graduate, because at this point my sister graduated, now she's in the United States. After like summer camps, we used to come here for summer camps before I graduated high school every year. And then after summer camp, we'll go to my uncle in Atlanta before he moved to Chicago, and we'll spend the remainder of our summer before school starts with my uncle. And then we just hang out, have fun in the United States. And then after that, he moved to Chicago, and then we continued to come to him in Chicago. And then when my sister graduated high school, she came here and stayed and went to college here. Still here, she still lives in Chicago. And I'm thinking, when I graduate high school, I'm coming here. Because my 3 older sisters at this point, 2 went to London to go to school. So it's kind of like a rite of passage, right? Your 3 elder sisters now are abroad going to school. And the way I grew up was, my parents had money. Tuition wasn't a problem. Them spending money on their kids wasn't a problem. So I'm thinking when it gets to my turn, I was going to come to the United States too. And that was what my parents were saying. I was going to come to the United States and go to school too. So I'm like, you know, when you tell it, when all your friends, like in your final year, they're all like, where are you going? Most people were going to London, right? Europe. And some of us were just like, oh, some of my friends would be like, oh, we know where Abu is going. And even me, once I'm like, yeah, I'm going to America to go to do my college. And then during our last year of graduating high school, the high school I was going to, my boarding school, was building a private university. Follow me here. Just my luck, right? Or just that I was unlucky. During my last year of graduating high school, follow me, the private school I was going, the boarding school I was going, was building a private, was accredited and given a permission or whatever to build a private university. So he built that private university quick. I don't want to name where they are and stuff like that, but by the time we graduated high school, and by the time, you know, it takes time, we graduated high school in May or beginning of June, and he was telling people, and the owner of this high school, elementary school, middle school I went to was our family friend. He was very close with my mom, the owner, and his wife. His wife was more of the proprietress of the school. She ran the school. If you live in Edo State, Benin City, you might know this school, but I'm not going to call it. If you know the school I'm talking about, it was like the best school. I don't know if it's still the best school in Benin, Edo State, Benin City, Edo State. Then, 97, 96, 95, 94, 93, 92, up until I graduated. And even after, I think my younger brothers graduated there too, my two younger brothers. I have cousins, my younger cousins. We all went there, graduated there. Even up till I graduated 99, my younger brothers graduated like 3 years, 4 years after I graduated. It was still a good school for what I know. Edo State, Benin City. And then he went ahead and built a private university. So by the time we graduated, you know, it takes time it's going to take months for colleges to resume, right? From colleges go out of school like May, right? Most times, even in the United States, May. So it's going to, by the time most colleges resume like August, end of August, like September, right? Even in Nigeria, in Nigeria, this school resumed September or October then. By the time I graduated high school, waited to see if I'll go to the United States, he was telling any parents that would listen that he knew, don't send them abroad. My school is almost done. Because we went to that school and it was a good school, it was a great school. So some of our parents decided his university is going to be good too. The university is amazing. I had no regret going, but I just didn't want to go to school, go to college in Nigeria. At this point, I think I have already had enough of living in Nigeria. I know later on my parents said, but you used to travel whenever you wanted abroad. Yeah, but I wanted to live abroad. I had lived, and I had a taste of Europe and America, and I chose to come to America and live. More of the lifestyle in America was the kind of life I wanted to live. So I don't know if you're watching this and you get what I'm saying, just leave a comment. You go to Europe, there are people that want to live in Europe, love Europe. The place that I really love in Europe is Switzerland. I love Switzerland. I always say if I ever move to Europe, I'll move to Switzerland. Beautiful place. I love Switzerland. But other than that, I love visiting Europe, but I don't see myself living in most of the countries in Europe. Fun place. But my connection was America. So by the time universities were to resume, this private university was ready. This was going to be a lot of money for my parents to be paying for. I know coming to America would have been a lot more money. But because we were family friends with the owner of this school, and my parents listened to him, my parents decided, especially my mom. So when it was time, I'm like, why are we not planning for me to travel? I'm confused. I need to go get things done that I need to get, like, and then my mom goes, no, you're going to that university. I'm just going to say the name, Igbinedion University in Okada. I'm like, no, I'm not. Mind you, these are African parents, Nigerian parents that have money. You really can't say much as a kid. As long as your parents are taking care of you, even if they're not taking care of you most times in Nigerian household. I'm not going to say African household. I don't like to generalize because I don't live in other African countries. I don't have another African parent. I only have a Nigerian parent, right? So I'm just going to talk about most Nigerian parents. Money, whether they have money or not, they say what, they say when, they say who. That's just how it is. And most times you can't even argue. But thankfully, my parents will let you plead your case sometimes. But they're going to still make the decisions anyway. So when it was, my mom said, no, you're going to Igbinedion University. Didn't you graduate from the school? The school was good to you. Now he's opening an amazing private university. So most times now his plan is, so my mom is telling me, Igbinedion said his plan is, when he wants the situation whereby when the kids graduate from Igbinedion High School, they go straight to Igbinedion University. And I was just like, oh my God, I cannot believe this. So I went, I was mad. My parents didn't really care. They promised me heaven and earth for me to stay because they know I really didn't want to stay. We'll buy you a car. I said, okay, that sounds good. Just tell us how much you want for your pocket money and we'll give it to you. I said, okay, I'm going to run these people. I'm going to bankrupt these people. Lies. Whatever you want, you can go and visit your sister. You can stop by London, visit your sisters in London. At this point, one of my sisters had already returned back to Nigeria, and then one of my sisters got married and they moved to Ireland. They live there up to today now. You can go visit, stop by, we'll buy you ticket, give you pocket money, you visit, stop by Europe, visit people you want to visit, even your friends that ended up living and going abroad to school. And then after that, you can go to America, go spend time with your sister, your uncle, and the friends that you made there during the summertime when you travel. I'm like, okay. So at this point, you really don't have a choice, right? They say what, they say when, they say who, they say everything. So it don't matter if you're mad. They're going to make their decision. And I knew they already made their decision. Like, I'm staying in Nigeria and I'm going to a university there. And I just had to come to terms. I never came to terms with it, but I decided, okay, I'll just do my law school there. So Igbinedion University opened and I went there. First year law school was rough because I didn't want to be there. Thankfully, my best friend was with me. Same room, same everything. Love her. She's my sister till today. Oh, I don't want to choke up. Oh, excuse me. Ooh. Excuse me. Okay, I'm gonna hold it back. So, thankfully, my best friend, she's my sister till today, she came to Okada too. And all right, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to tear up. So thankfully, I'm going to try to say this thing because there's a happy ending to it. I'm here in America. So thankfully, I tear up because she's always been good to me. I don't know why. Oh, Jesus. But sometimes, I don't know if you guys have ever had friends. I'm just going to try not to. I don't know if you guys have ever met someone. They're just like a sister, like a family. Because I was the middle child, the last girl, and I have 3 younger brothers. My 3 older sisters, I was never really close to them. you know. Up till today, I'm still not close to them. They all talk. I barely talk to them, but all three of them talk. They never really played with me when I was growing up. They just treat me like that little baby sister. So I'm very close to my younger brothers, thank God. So I always played sports with my younger brothers, especially football, soccer. I always played it with my younger brothers. That's why I have like scars on my leg. It's cool. It's a story for me to tell. I always tell that why I have scars. And I don't close my scars. I wear what I want to wear. But then I found a sister from another mother. She's been nothing all these years since 1994, 1993. We've been friends since then. And she's been nothing but kind, but amazing. Just a good human being, you know. When I was younger, I could be very mean. When I tell people that now, they'll be like, you? I'm like, yeah, I changed. I became a more better person after I had my daughter. Thank God for her. She's 16 now. Because I always say, treat people the way you want to be treated. And after I had my daughter, I really started to see things through a different lens. It wasn't just selfish Naomi anymore. It was like I have this human being about. Anyway, that's a story for either today, part of my story, or another day. So thankfully, my best friend, my sister, she also was going to come to Igbinedion University too. Mind you, this is going to be another boarding school because we live far. I had a house in Benin. I had a house in Benin. We had a house in Benin, but most times we lived in Lagos. And most people that I knew lived in Lagos or Port Harcourt or Warri in boarding school. So now we're going to be boarding again at the university. So it's like a camp, right? Like here, a campus when you go to university. So that was fun. So thankfully, my best friend, because then I was crying like, I don't know who's going to be coming to the East University. Most of my friends are gone. Most of my friends at this point, they already went abroad. You know, they went abroad for the summer, but they were going to stay there for their colleges and stuff. So I went to summer. I came here for summer. So when I got back, I went to go see my best friend right before school started. I went to go see my best friend. And she's like, oh, I'm preparing for school. She's thinking I'm going abroad. So she was like, why you come back? Didn't you go for summer? I'm like, yeah. I'm going to Igbinedion. She goes, oh, I'm going to Igbinedion. So we just hugged each other. I cried on her. And I'm like, oh my God, we're going to stay in the same room. We're going to do everything. Up until I was there for almost 3 years. And I was doing law and she was doing accounting. Up until that, we stayed in the same room. Oh man, she was amazing. She told me, she looked at me, she said, I know you didn't want to be in Nigeria, you didn't want to go to university in Nigeria. I'm going to make it as good and fun for you. But at some point, you're probably not going to want to stay here. I said, no, when I get an opportunity, I'm going to end up staying in America, whether my parents like it or not. So I was in America. I would come here every summer as my parents promised. They never got me the car. Most of the things that they said, name me, they never got it. You know, they paid my tuition, gave me pocket money. You know, every time I asked them for the car, they said, did you know how many kids we kill? We do anything to be in the situation, the position that you are in. Look at where you are at. And I tell them, I don't even want to be here. And they'll be like, you're ungrateful, blah, blah, blah. So I just leave it. So for some reason, I started to I felt like sometimes I was falling into depression at school, at the university. And I just started to tell my friend, I said, if I go to summer, after my second year of law school, I told her she was the only one that knew. Because I was giving away stuff. I told her, I said, I'm not coming back. If I go to the United States for this summer, I'm not coming back. Don't tell anybody. I'm not coming back. So she's like, I knew at some point you were going to go to America because you've always wanted to live there. Ever since, you know, I knew you. And you always said you wanted to go to school there. I was like, yeah, I'm not coming back. So it was almost time. School was ending. after my second year of law school. I was doing contract law, by the way. I started to give away my stuff. I had nice stuff. I started to give them away. My parents didn't know. Because if they knew, they probably would have canceled my ticket to fly down here for the summer. Because they didn't want me to stay here. You know. They just didn't. They said I was crazy. Like, I never listened, which is true. They said I don't listen. Because one summer I came here, I had my first tattoo, which is this tattoo. Right? So, and then I was the kid. Like, my three older sisters were the ones that would listen to all the rules, obey all the rules, the laws that was laid down in my house. That my parents, don't do this. No tattoos, no contact lens, no piercings, except for the piercings that they gave you when you were a baby. Things that they would say, no, I would do them. I had a tattoo. Now I have like 3 or 4 tattoos, big ones. I had my first tattoo, one of the summer I came here after I graduated high school. And then I have like double piercings. You know, it's just things that my parents like, oh, you shouldn't do that. That doesn't look responsible. I'm like, you can have tattoos from head to toe. Doesn't mean you're not responsible. I don't believe in things like that. But most African parents, especially Nigerian parents, believe. I think it's now decided to warm up. So like, oh, you can have a tattoo. You can have as many piercings. You know, my mom used to say, a woman who smokes, a woman, listen, most Nigerian parents, I remember when I was growing up, when they see a woman smoking, they say, oh, which man is going to marry that woman? She's either a prostitute or something. But it's not true. She just smokes because she wants to. Doesn't make her any of those things. It's not the warming up to things like that, like, oh, they just do it. My parents don't think like that anymore, mind you. But then I went to, after my second year of law school, I don't want to deviate from what I'm saying. After my second year of law school in U.S.A. University, I gave away my stuff. My parents didn't know, traveled. July 2001. I graduated high school 1999 at 17 years old. 2000. So yeah, I was here 18, 19 years old. Came back this summer, July 2001. I will never forget it. Right before my immediate older sister's birthday. To my parents, I was coming here for another summer. Spend my summer here. Before school starts, I'll be there. So at this point, when it was time, my mom is like, okay, you need to start preparing to come. So when I got here in July, let me just give you guys step by step. So I said, that was why I said faith, right? Faith works in different ways. God knew I was still going to end up here, end up living here because he knew my heart, what I wanted. I always say pray, 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 pray. Prayer is the master key. Pray, 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 pray. One thing, I might not be yelling. If I'm working, I'm praying. If I'm sitting, I'm praying. In my heart, I am. I don't have to open my mouth, but I talk to God every time. I know God knew I wanted to stay in this country. I wanted to live in this country. Faith. July 2001, I came here for summer. Left to my parents, I was coming here for summer to spend time and have fun, and then come back to U.S.A. University. So I was supposed to go back end of August before school started. So once I got here, 2 weeks later, I'm telling my sister I'm not going back. And then she's like, what? Mommy's going to kill us. What do you mean you're not going back? Mommy's going to think I'm the one that convinced you to stay. Mommy's never going to believe that you stayed. I said, no, she knew I never wanted to go to school in Nigeria. Well, you know, mommy's going to be so mad. That's my sister. Mommy's going to be so mad. After spending all that money for your first and second year law school, you're going to third year. Law school is 5 years. Third year, second year, you're like almost halfway through. Now, with all that money that they've spent, you're going to come here and stay. My sister, I looked at her. I'm like, she looked at me. I was looking at her. She's like, man, I know when you've made up your mind. I said, you cannot. She said, no, you have to go back. I said, who's going to make me go back? Not you. Who else? My uncle doesn't care if I stay or if I go back. He's not going to stress himself. My uncle lives in a different home. My sister had an apartment that my parents was paying for. Follow me. She's like, Naomi, mom is gonna be, they're gonna be mad. I'm telling you, you're going back. I said, no, I'm not going back. I said, worst come to worst, I leave this apartment and I find somewhere to stay. So as we're talking, one day me and her and a family friend, we're walking on the street, faith. We're walking on the street. God was building these steps for me because He knew before we see anything, God already sees it in front, right? God was building steps and making me meet people step by step. Listen to me, step by step in life. That's why I said why I decided to stay in America after a summer vacation, because I was never meant to grow up in Nigeria. I think we all have a time and season in our lives. I think my time and season in Nigeria was up to high school. That extra 2-3 years I spent after high school in Nigeria, my body was there. But truthfully, most times, my soul, my mind was, most of the time, wasn't there. I'd spend the time that I was supposed to spend in Nigeria. Now let me go and go to where God really wanted me to be and be successful in it. I don't think I would have been successful in Nigeria. Yeah, okay, pretty girl, runs girl. First of all, I had friends that were runs girls. After I got to college, I met friends in Unilag, Uniben, you know. I met wonderful people that were runs girls. And I was never one of it all my life. I was never one, and I'm not the type of person that's going to be a runs girl. Now, if I'm dating a guy that is wealthy, that is rich, he buys me stuff, yeah, lucky me, lucky girl. But I was never like a runs girl, like, oh, I'm going to make a lot of money from politicians or wealthy guys in Nigeria. No. My eyes was never there. My eye was always, I want to make my own money. I want to be able to spend my money and not ask nobody for money. And I knew ever since I started coming to the United States, this was a place that I know that I could really, I had family members who used to go to Europe, uncles, aunties, and I saw the way their lifestyle was, and I didn't want to, and I would see people who went to America and came back, and I loved it. And when I come here, the life is different from the way most people live in Europe. It don't matter if you have money or not. Fact. So I just loved it. And for some reason, my body, my mind, soul, since I started coming here, Europe, everything clicked. Everything in me clicked with America. So let's keep going. Come July, I came here July. 2 weeks down after I told my sister I'm not staying, blah, blah, she's like, Mom is going to be mad. She might cut off paying bills because she's going to think I talked to you into this. I was like, I don't care. So I told her, I said, if those things happen, I'm going to work. You're already working. Even if our parents are paying your bills, you're already working. So we can just divide and join our money together and pay bills and do stuff. She's like, what about your tuition? Who's going to pay your tuition? I said, oh, we'll figure that out. I'll save up money, pay my tuition if I have to, if I need to, because I might not need to. So she's like, oh man, this is going to be crazy. I said, don't worry, boy, I'm not going back. So by the time August came around, my mom, I think she was getting the sign too that I didn't want to come back. But not August. Towards the end of July, I, my sister, and a family friend of ours, we just walking on the streets of north side of Chicago. And here comes this guy that became my first boyfriend in America. And my first boyfriend ever. Yeah, I dated, but the sex wasn't involved. I dated in Nigeria. The dating I dated in Nigeria was for fun. Even if most of the guys took me seriously, I never took them seriously. But I would say this was my first ever boyfriend because it was the first guy I slept with. So towards the end of July, we were walking on the street, going somewhere on the street of north side of Chicago. And here comes this guy, pulled over. And then my sister and my family friend turned, and then they called his name. They knew him. He was very close to them. My sister had already dated his cousin, but they weren't dating. At this point, my sister was dating someone else. And my family friend always had a crush on him. This guy that pulled, always had a crush, but he liked my sister and my family friend as friends, and there was nothing more. Like he later said, yeah, she wasn't my type. Great girl, but everybody have a type. I was like, oh, okay. And she didn't mind when we started dating. She was okay. So he pulled over with his car and called, and my sister's turned, and he's in his car laughing. And my sister and my family friend turned, they're like, "What are you doing around here?" Because he lived downtown. If you know, downtown Chicago is expensive, which I ended up moving to later on my own, because I started working and making good money. They were like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "Oh, my aunt lives down the street." But I was like, "Oh, I know his aunt." My sister was like, "I know his aunt. They all live down here." And then he's like, "Where are you guys going?" We're like, "We're almost at where we're doing, but we just wanted to walk anyways." It's like, "No, you guys get in the car." So we told him where we're. He's like, "Yeah, I know that place." So he came. So at this point, he came out. We talked. I want to cut it short. He came out. We talked, and then we got in the car. He took us to where we were going. All through that day. So when he's talking, my sister sat in front. I and my family friend sat in the back. When I would look into the rear view mirror, he was looking at me. He was always looking at me and looking at me. I was like, "Oh, this is crazy." Truthfully, the first time I saw him, it wasn't really my type. Funny enough, that's why it took us months before we started dating, because I was just like, so not my type. No, and then it was supposed to go somewhere. He ended up not going somewhere. He will come down with us. He would tell us, "Where else are you guys going?" We told him. He took us around that day, hung out with us, paid for whatever we were eating, drinking, anything that we were doing that day. If we were to pay, he paid for it. It was really nice. And my sister was like, "He's always nice, you know." And I was like, "Oh." And then when he dropped us off at home, and he told my sister, "Is it okay if I talk to your sister?" I was like, "Ask me. I'm grown. I'm 19 years old." You know, he's like, "Okay, do you mind if I talk to you?" I was like, "Sure." So my sister and my family friend went upstairs. My sister is like, "If it's what I think you're going to do, you are not my sister's type, just so you know. But you can go ahead, because what else do you want to say to her?" But anyway, he told me that he likes me, that he actually stopped because of me, that he knew my sister and my family friend, but he saw us from our back because it was coming and we were backing him. And he was like, "Damn, who is that girl with he called my sister's name and my cousin's name with them?" It was like, "Man, I don't care. I'm going to find out who she is." And then he found out that I was my sister's sister and whatever. But as from there, every day he would come over to our apartment. He would tell me, "Oh, I really like you. What do you want to go?" When my sister goes to work, he will come pick me up. We'll go for lunch, hang out, take me around Chicago. He will work and do stuff like that. So as time went on, come August, told my parents, I'm just telling you guys my story, how I ended up here, staying here stubbornly. I was stubborn. Sometimes you have to be stubborn. And I still use that up to today in my life. If I'm negotiating, whatever I'm doing in my life, sometimes you have to be stubborn to get what you want. You have to know when to be stubborn, when to be extremely nice, when to be in the middle, not too stubborn, not too nice. And then there are some business deals. There are some things that you just have to be right out mean. Do I feel good sometimes being mean? No. But when it comes to business, when it comes to life, there are some things. But most times, I always say just be a good human being. If it doesn't have to do with business, work, or whatever, you have to know when it comes to those things, how to balance it. But just to be a human being, no work, no money, no nothing involved. Just be a good human being. But anyway, he was really nice, all true. He was always very nice. Even till we broke up, it was always very nice. So come August, and my mom says, "Hey, you need to start getting ready. Your school starts in September." So I'm like, "Okay." I kept pushing it. My sister's like, "You're going to have to tell mom that you're not coming back at some point." I said, "I'll tell her. I'll tell her after school starts in Nigeria." So my sister is like, "No. You know, at this point, she already paid your tuition. She has to find a way to go for them to reimburse her that tuition. So I think before school starts, you should let her know, so she knows what to do by now. Because these are things that you're just going to hit her with." And I and my mom, up to today, we were very close. Very, very close. So just follow me on this story. My mom didn't want me to stay in Nigeria just because to go to college there, because the college was good, the university was good. My mom, it was later on she said it. She wanted me to stay in Nigeria because we were very close. I would cook for them. We had cooks, we had house helps. But my mom and my dad loved my food. They like my food. They like me cooking. Sometimes I'll be in Okada at the university. They come from abroad or come from Lagos. They'll stop by, pick me up, go to Benin when they come to Benin, for me to be there for the weekend so I can help, I can cook. Even if they came with a house help and a cook. But they just, I and my mom were very close. So, cut the story short. Come end of August, my mom said, what is going on? You missed your flight. I paid for that flight. I said, Mommy, I'm not coming back. Just the day she brought it. I said, I'm not coming back. She said, she started laughing on the phone. And then she called my full name. That was when I know, I said, yo, this is about to get interesting. Africans, Nigerians, you know when parents start calling your full name, like they go from Osas or Naomi to Osayuwame. So my mom goes, Osayuwame. What did you say in Benin, in our language? What did you say? So I kept quiet because I know at this point she heard me. So she said, I'm asking you. I said, Mommy, I'm not coming back. She said, no, you're coming back. You missed your flight. It doesn't cost much to change the flight. You're going to give an excuse why you missed your flight. So I said, okay, because at this point, I wasn't coming back. So what's the use? Mind you, at this point, I was already like hanging out with the guy that ended up being my first boyfriend. And then I told him, I said, first of all, boyfriend is not even my problem right now. I don't want a boyfriend right now. There's a reason why I'm staying here. And I know my parents, they're not going to be happy. So the first thing I need is a job. And then he goes, oh, I'll drive you to places where you can fill out applications because since you don't have experience, you're going to go to college and stuff. You can do like telemarketing and stuff like that. I was like, right now, anything. But I don't want to clean bathrooms. I don't want to clean toilets. I don't want to do anything else other than cleaning stuff. I'll do it. It was like, okay. So he started taking me around places to go fill out jobs. That was how nice it was. Because I told him, it was like anything. So I think he was doing these things for me because he knew if I was able to settle down. Because I told him, I said, I still don't know if I'm staying or leaving. And he was like, please stay. I'm like, we'll see, it depends. I'm like, I need a job. Boyfriend is not my priority right now. A job, the first priority that I have is a job and go sign up in a college. Because my parents need to know I'm serious. And when they know that these things, I'm actually doing them and carrying them out, then they can just forget that she ain't coming back. So he was like, okay, so he started taking this, my boyfriend. He wasn't my boyfriend then. He will come when he wakes up, hey, there's this place, we need to go fill out applications. He will take me around. He will even help me fill out applications. And then for jobs. And then he will take me to a city college. I applied at a college. I was accepted into that college. Mind you, I had to pay tuition. When we found out I have to pay some amount, not all, some. I was like, whew. So I applied to that college. Applied for jobs, went to job interviews and all those stuff. I ended up at my first job. It was a telemarketing. This guy that became my boyfriend later, his cousin was working there. So I got that job. I went for an interview. I got that job. I will never forget my first day at job. It was September 11th, 2001. 9/11. I will never forget. That's why I will never forget where I was on 9/11. My first day at a job. My first job. First day at it. That was when 9/11 happened. On 9/11. We all remember what happened on 9/11. So, when my parents realized by end of September, I wasn't calling them, they weren't calling me because my mom she couldn't believe her eyes. She ended up in the hospital. By end of September, when my dad called to let us know my mom was admitted in the hospital. Like, because she was so sick, she almost had it. It wasn't a heart attack, thank God. She almost had a heart attack because she never believed that me, Naomi, would be the one to do that to her. So I told him, I said, I'm sorry, but if I told her, she would have never let me leave Nigeria to even travel anymore to America, even for a visit or for summer, for a vacation. She would have never let me. So this was the only way. I'm like, Daddy, Mommy, you guys knew I didn't want to stay in Nigeria. So he's like, call your mom. She's in the hospital. So I called her. And I apologized to her, but she was pissed, she was mad. I was like, okay. So I told Stella. So she started, so when she would talk to my sister, she blamed my sister every time. Up to now, she still blames my sister. And my sister was like, Naomi, I told you she was going to think I'm the one making you stay. I explained to my sister what was going on in Nigeria, and I'm like, she was like, oh, okay. If you want to stay in the end, she's like, stay. But then, September 11th, I got my job, my first job. Walked into the job on September 11th. As we're walking, our boss, Beth, is saying, you all gotta go back, go home, everybody go home. I'm like, what's going on? Go home, go. And then somebody goes, they're bombing everywhere. So I haven't even put my bag down to start my first job on my first day at work, 9/11. I just ran downstairs. At this point, I hadn't gotten a phone yet. I'm like, oh my God, he just dropped me off. And it was this guy that ended up being my boyfriend that dropped me off. I'm like, he dropped me off and he left. Thankfully, he was around the corner. And him too. People are calling, everybody's talking to each other. And then he came back. Because we were all downstairs waiting. People are calling their family members. People are taking the train. People were scared to take the train. 9/11, like they're bombing everywhere. Chicago have high rises. If you've been to Chicago, that's what Chicago is beautiful because of the high rises in Chicago. So they're thinking after New York, it might be Chicago because of the tall buildings, the high rises. So everybody go home, everybody go home. They're telling everybody, go home, go home. So we all went downstairs waiting for people. People didn't want to take the train. They were scared, calling their family members, the ones that drove. And then I'm standing out there like, I don't have a phone. And then as I'm standing there, he just pulled up. Come, get in, let's go. I got in. It's like, they're bombing everywhere right now. DC, blah, blah. At this point, I'm still figuring out, is this really happening on my first day at work? Because, yes, it happened. We stayed home for 2 days. Third day, we got like a message that we should all come back to work, an email. And then we went back to work September 3rd, September 4th. September 13th, September 14th. So I always tell people I will never forget 9/11 because that was supposed to be my first day at my first job ever in America. So on the September 13th, 14th, went back to work. That became my official day. But I always say my official first day of my first job in America was September 11th, 2001, on 9/11. So I went back to work on September 13th or 14th. Started work as a telemarketer. My first job was a telemarketer. If you know what telemarketing now is, they call scam likely. They bother me and I hate it now. But most people, that's always their first job, especially college kids. Is either telemarketing if you're in college or retail. You work in a retail store. A lot of my friends, people that I ended up making friends with in college, when we were in college, worked at a retail store, downtown Chicago. Because there was a whole bunch of retail stores and they accommodate your schedule, your school schedule. That was why most people work in a retail store. Well, I worked at a telemarketer. When I worked at a telemarketer, thank God to this, my boyfriend then, by October, November, we became official. He became my boyfriend because it was just absolutely, it was just so good to me. I couldn't help. You know, sometimes you say someone is not your type, but when you give them time, they prove how good of a person they are. It wasn't it did not become all about his height or his looks. It just became, I saw him as just a good human being who treated me nicely, kindly, who I knew then would do anything for me. That was how much he liked me. Ended up later on telling me that he was in love with me, he loved me, blah, blah, blah. That he loved me from the first day that he met me, he saw me. I just think that God brought him into my life and God was making arrangements in my life. Because as time went on, I was about to start school. My mom, when she was well from the hospital, she said, I didn't send you to America. A Nigerian parent. She said, I didn't send you to America. They had the money. They were helping my sister out, even if she was working financially. But for me, they didn't. Because my mom was so mad. She said, I didn't send you to America. I sent you to America for a vacation, not to go stay. So, financially, you're going to be responsible on your own because I give you less than 6 months, you'll run back to Nigeria. That word, she said, motivated me so much up till today. Even now, When me and my mom have a little bit of argument and she wants to go to, sometimes she say, you here today, you're in America because of me. I'm like, no, you sent me to America for a vacation. Remember? You didn't send me to America to stay. Remember, I financed myself at 19 years old, 20 years old, 21 years old, 22 years old. College, bills, apartment, I financed myself through those things. So my mom says, hey, you make sure you go to school. Because one thing you're not going to do is go to America when you're supposed to be a lawyer in Nigeria at some point. Graduate as a law student and be a lawyer. You're going to go to America. They just thought I wasn't going to be able to finance or work. Because my mom said, you've never worked, you've never done. I said, well, Stella came here. Even if you guys help her out financially. But she ended up working and she's still working. So why can't I do it? Everybody does it. My mom said, okay, we'll see. So that motivated, it still motivates me up to today. Up to today, it still motivates me. I was like, my mom is like, I didn't send you to America, so you're going to be responsible financially. Anything, you're responsible for yourself. Don't call me for money, no nothing. I was like, okay. I'd already started working, thankfully. So I started to learn how to save. Went to college. We pay. Thankfully, in college here, you don't have to pay in full. It's 9 months, 10 months. You just pay installment. So I was able to do that. I save up my money. Telemarketing. Telemarketing was good money, but it wasn't great money. So I started to look for a better job. So I got this great job. A good job. Through someone. Faith, right? Faith. So one day at my college, I'm working with my friends. What we do when it's a break, because it was downtown, Harold Washington College. It was downtown, right in the middle of Chicago. It's stores, it's restaurants, it's everywhere. Best place in Chicago. So you have to be careful. You have to know how you have to, what's the right word I need to use for this? You have to be careful not to abuse money when you go to school downtown Chicago, because it's tempting not to shop. So I always had it in my head, like, I have bills to pay. I had rent to pay. I had to give my sister some part of the rent. When I tell a few people, they'll be like, your parents had money. I'm like, so then I tell some of them why. They're like, oh man, we didn't know you were going to. Now I tell some of them, but they didn't know. I just kept it to myself. Let them just think my parents are the ones financing our lifestyle. That's fine. But I did it all myself. Paid for my college. Ended up getting a really good job that was paid while I was still in college. Met this amazing guy that was the vice president. No, he was the president. Way older guy. He would sit at the Starbucks by Harold Washington College and Michigan. South Michigan. He would sit there, would walk down, never noticed him. One day, I'm walking by myself, and he approached me while I walked past the Starbucks. He's like, excuse me, I didn't even know. And then he got up and followed me. And I turned, I was like, hi. He's like, are you in a hurry or you're going to go shop? I'm like, He's like, I see you and your friends most of the time. You guys go and shop and come back. And I'm like, I was actually just going to go take a walk. I'm like, I barely shop because I have bills to pay. I was just going to go take a walk before my next class. I have like an hour, more than an hour to kill. I was just going to go around the stores, window shop. It's like, oh, you want a window shop? I can shop. Let's go and window shop together. I was like, okay, go get your coffee. It was because at this point I was like, I want to know, don't shun people off. It was a white guy. Then I was like 19, 20 years old. And he probably was like, I think I was like 20 years old at this time. He probably was like, then in his 40s. He loved black women. He was going through divorce with a black woman. So he picked up his coffee. We went, because I'm like, around here, because I looked at him, I'm like, around here is offices, nice offices around the school I went to. It's like good jobs, you graduate college, you work there, or you're a president, vice president, or you're a lawyer, you're a doctor. That was how Michigan Avenue was. Or expensive apartments and nice stores and stuff like that. So I'm like, and he was wearing a suit. I'm like, that's why I always tell people, always listen. Everybody have a story. Don't always just brush people off, shun people. My daughter is 16 now. She always says, you talk to any and everybody. I can pull up and chit chat with homeless people, buy them lunch, talk to them. Not all homeless people are addicts. And some of them that are addicts is the reason why they became an addict. You have to hear people's story. I'm just the kind of person that if you say hi, I'm going to say hello back. You say hi, I'm going to say hello. How are you doing? That's everybody knows. And sometimes I look at him like, hi, you say hello. I'm like, how are you doing? I always do that. Always. And then before you know it, if we're going to talk, we talk. And then before you start knowing who people are, when people say hi, say hello, smile. Because you never know where that story ends. That's the story. You can just cut that story real short right there. And you never know what you're going to lose or what you're going to gain. Or you can hear that story. That hi, hello turns into a story, a long story. And it's become very beneficial in your life. And that was what has always happened to me in this country. I'm not going to lie. In the United States of America, my story has always been, be very open-minded because you never know. So I told Chef, get your coffee, let's go. So we start talking. It's like, how old are you? You go to Harold Washington College. I said, yeah, what? This, and I said, I'm about to graduate and they transfer to a 4-year college, Northeastern. It's like, oh, great, Northeastern is a great school. I said, yeah. It's like, oh, and then we got into a store. I'm looking at shoes, and then when we're done looking, I tried them on and I put it back in the box. My head is like, I like this shoe. These shoes. It was like 4 pairs of shoes at a store that I really liked. I'm like, okay, after I tried all of them, I'm like, I'll get this one. And then it goes, what about the other 3? I'm like, no, I cannot afford those 3. I have bills to pay. It's like, oh, no, take them. I'm like, no, I'm not going to take them. It's like, I'm paying for them, take them. I'm like, no. So he insisted. I'm like, no. I'm like, I just met you. I don't know you. No, thank you. But you're kind. You're a very kind person. But no. So I paid. It's like, okay, I paid for that one shoe. He looked at it. I didn't know he was looking at the sizes. My size. He looked at it. Like, so we went around. After, I'm like, I have a class now. He's like, okay, I'll walk you back. I'm like, you don't have to. It's like my office is across the street from your school. That's why I'm always at the Starbucks across the street. So my office is there. So it's no problem. I was like, okay, so we walked. He ended up walking me to the school and came back and went to his office. He's the president at his job. He's the president. So he says what, he says who, he says when, he says. That day I still don't know what he does, who he was, because that's how I ended up at a very lucrative job. Faith. God was building steps why I ended up in America. I could have suffered, right? But God already knew this is where I'm supposed to be. I could have suffered. I lived a soft life. I lived a privileged life in Nigeria. I could have come here and be lazy. I was working full-time and I was going to school full-time. A lot of people can't do that. But at 19, I was doing it because I was determined. And the words of my mom that I can't do it, in 6 months I'll be back to Nigeria, running back to them, also was a great motivation to me. Determination and motivation. My mom motivated me. I tell her up to today. So, next day, saw Chef Kit again. It's like, I'm like, so I jokingly said, are you waiting for me? It's like, maybe. It's like, where are you going to this time? I was like, going to go grab lunch. It's like, where? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I like Benihana. Benihana was great then, good food. And was across from Harold Washington College. It was right underneath his office. If you know Benihana in Chicago, on South Michigan Avenue by Harold Washington, across the street, that nice, tall building office, then you know. So I'm like, I like Benihana, but I don't know. It's like, oh, let's go there. I like Benihana too. So when I crossed it, at this point, I knew I wasn't going to pay for it. So we went there, we ate, he paid. And then he said, I have something in my trunk, in the trunk of my car for you. I'm like, I'm not going into, I'm like, where did you park? He said, it's the garage in this building. I'm like, I'm not going with you to the garage or to your trunk. It's like, I'll just bring them next time. I said, okay. It's like, what time are you going to be free from school? Like in between tomorrow. So I told him. It's like, can we meet here once you get off your class? At that time, I was like, yeah. Because at this point, I'm like, I know you got me something. A little help, in other words, clothes, shoes, can go a long way for me because I'm paying my bills, paying my tuition. So the next day I went there, he was there. I saw shoe boxes. Remember, I wanted 4 shoes. I was only able to afford one. He went to go get the other 3 shoes and gave them to me. And some clothes. Some fit, some didn't fit. I had to return the ones. He put a gift receipt. So I had to return them. And when I returned them, I got money back for those because I told them I didn't need all that clothes. I would rather keep the money because I have bills to pay. We became really good friends. He would tell me every now and then that he liked me. I would tell him I have a boyfriend. Because don't forget I had a boyfriend. I would tell him I had a boyfriend, and then I started telling him, and then I found out what he did, his job. I was like, I could get a job. That was how I got my Hilton and Tower job at the Hilton. I was there for years. That was how I got that job. It was very lucrative for me. Gave me a nice lifestyle. That was I didn't have the qualification because it was the president. I got the job. There are people that would never, ever. I still pray for him up to today. I still pray for my... When people do good for you, you have to pray for them. You have to appreciate them, especially when they don't need anything from... Yeah, he liked me, Chef Kid, the white older guy. He liked me, but we never, not even a kiss, no nothing. We ended up just being really good friends. Nothing happened. Nothing for years. Even sometimes, every now and then, when they let people off, then or they want to let people go, they'll say, "Oh, you can't do nothing to Naomi because she's Chef Kid's person." You know, he could have said at some point, "He's not getting anything from me." He could have just ignored me. But he told me one time, he said, "You're a good person. You're a fun person to be around. I just like being around you, Naomi." And I still get it up till today. People like to, I like to stay by myself. I like to be by myself most of the time. Most of the time. My room. In college here, I partied a lot. Not a lot, but I went out a lot. You know, that's what you're supposed to do in college. I went out a lot, but now I like to be by myself most of the time. You know, I like to be by myself. But Chef Kit was great to me. Never asked me for, "Oh, if you don't do this." Yeah, sometimes I will ask him, "Hey, I need some money. It's about to be 1st of the month." And sometimes he would just voluntarily say, "Hey, here, use this to pay your rent." Sometimes I will tell him about my tuition and he will give me money and nothing happened. But we will hang out, we will have fun. If my friends are coming to visit from Atlanta, he would drive me to the airport and pick them up. Some of my friends met him. It was later on they realized, no, you can ask them, nothing ever happened. People don't believe, like, why would somebody keep spending all that money on you? Nothing. It was just a good human being. He will always say, "Your boyfriend is so lucky. Your boyfriend is so lucky." I say, "Yeah, he knows." So I left telemarketing and got this great job through this wonderful guy, Chef K. And I was there for years. That was my 2nd job in America before I ended up getting a Fortune 500 job after I graduated college. Even after I graduated college, because I was making so much money at the Hilton and Towers Hotel, I didn't work for a long time until they started laying people off, and then I ended up putting in my resume, and then I got another job, which at this point, it was like a graduate job. It was a good money before. But anyway, so this is why I say faith. Like, and don't ever let anybody tell you cannot do something. Or let whatever negative stuff people tell you, be it your mom, your friend, anybody, always use that as a motivation to push yourself. Push yourself. Push yourself. Don't ever let people say you can't and you really go sit down and say, "I can't." You can do anything, especially in this country. I always say, if you can make it in America, you know how Nigeria is. I always say, as long as you're not a money launderer, like you're not doing anything illegal, but if you can make it in Nigeria, that's how America is. America and Nigeria. If you can make it in those 2 places, you can make it anywhere else in the world. I promise you. If you can, you just have to be determined and motivated, have goals, have things. When you come to America, my advice to you, anybody who comes, I met a few people then, even recently, I met someone who said, they told me they were struggling. When I meet people that just come from Africa or Nigeria and they tell me they're struggling, like because they just come, I try to help them financially. Like I buy them groceries and I give them cash. I give them money because I'm like, it's going to be okay. Call me Anytime if you need anything. Because at some point, we all needed a leg, a hand. You don't know people's stories. For me, I never asked people for money because people who knew me, few people that I went to school back home that knew me in Nigeria thought. So I couldn't ask people for help. And I really didn't need the help. Because I got a job right away. I really didn't need the help. You know what I'm saying? But there are people who come here. They don't know nobody. They don't know where to start, how to start. So when you meet those people, please help them if you watch this video. Because sometimes we Africans, I'm going to say Nigerians, will do that a lot. We see somebody, they complain, but you have, even if it's just a little that you have to help them, help. It goes a long way. Because you don't know how God is going to bless you with just that little thing that you use to help people. So I always try to do that. Because I know how people helped me. Even if you say, oh, they were doing it because they liked you. They were doing it because they wanted something from you, this man. It will still help, right? Chef Kid didn't get what he wanted from me. But if I call Chef Kid up to today, I don't have his number anymore. It's been years. I know if I had his number and I find him and I say, Chef Kid is probably older now. He will still say, hey, Naomi, what you want? You know, if I tell him, Chef Kid, I need this, it's probably, if he's able to, he probably will still do it. And don't burn your bridges. That's another thing. Please don't burn your bridges. Treat people the way that if you want to go back for anything, just even to be a friend or for you to talk, for them to talk to you, always treat people that way. You cannot walk through a burning bridge. That means you've burnt all your bridges and you look back, you can't walk through it because it's burning. Because you've burnt it all. No. So I ended up getting the Hilton job. Had that for a long time. Was making great money. At this point, I even used to send money to my mom. Whether she needs the money or not, I used to send her money. Okay? Look at God, look at God. This point I graduated, was still working at the Hilton. I would send my mom money, send my brothers, because I'm very giving. Whether they needed it, did not need it, I used to send money, here you go, you know, Merry Christmas, brother, you know. As time went on, my mom saw, first time I was graduating, she was very excited when I was graduating. She came for my graduation, she was proud, she was telling, I was looking at her, she was happy. I had jobs. Later on, she told me how proud she was, that I'm the only child. She never paid her tuition abroad. I'm the only child that never came to her and cried like, I need help financially abroad. She was very proud. Up to now, she's still very proud of me. And I told her, I said, you know, your words motivated me. And I thank her for it. Because I don't know, if not because of what she said, hey, I give you 6 months, you'll be back. You never worked a day in your life, blah, 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 blah. Let me see how you're going to financially take care of yourself. I don't think I would have ever been that motivated because I was very playful. Let me tell you guys. I was very playful. At that age, I was like, I'm fine. So along the way, I ended up meeting a basketball player, dated a basketball player for a short time, found out he was married. At this point, I'm just going to tell you guys, found out he was married, left him. I'm not dating married men. And then as time goes on, ended up meeting my daughter's father at the Hilton there because they stay, Chicago Bears, he played football. He's retired and he's passed now, may God rest his soul. Ended up meeting him at the Hilton and Towers Hotel because they stayed there. Soldier Field is right there. They stayed there when they play at home. So I met him there. We ended up dating for 2.5 years. And then we had my daughter. And then we broke up. And then we became great. We co-parent greatly. And then, so you see how my life has gone. Man, a basketball player was good. Found out he was married. Treated me well. Took care of me financially. Treated me well. And I kept my job. After that, dated, went out on dates, not like boyfriend. Went out on dates here and there. Mind you, my first boyfriend, we dated for over a year. We broke up. We were still friends up to today. Hi, hello, blah, 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 congratulations and stuff. And I met the basketball player. In between, after I broke up with my first boyfriend, we see each other every now and then, and I'll go out on dates. Now people are doing online. Then you go out, you meet guys. And Chicago was full of athletes. Volleyball, basketball, baseball, hockey, and then at this time I was living downtown, middle of downtown Chicago on LaSalle Street, middle where there are nice restaurants, bars, lounges. I was living there. So I would go out with a lot of my friends. We'll meet athletes. We'll meet all kinds of people. So I was a dater. It's good. Date, date, date. You never know who you're going to meet when you go out on dates. I used to go out on dates a lot. Had like six-pack, like abs. I would wear like tiny stuff and a low-rise jeans just because of my six-pack, you know. So me and my first boyfriend broke up, dated in between, met a basketball player, dated for like more than 6 months, found out he was married, and I kept it pushing. Told him, don't contact me anymore. I'm going to find your wife and tell your wife. I just scared him. I wasn't going to do that. No, I wasn't going to do that. But just so he can leave, because he didn't want to leave me alone. So I just kind of told him that, and then he stopped contacting me, and then I dated in between, here and there. Dated like another football player. But nothing happened. We were just dating, getting to know each other. And then after that, met my daughter's father. Beautiful man. Met him. We dated for 2.5 years. We had our daughter. Things didn't work out. We went our separate ways. That was how I ended up in Texas till today. Because we made a decision, and he said he played for Chicago Bears. After Chicago Bears, he played for Cincinnati Bengals. His last team was Green Bay Packers, but he's from Texas. He was never going to live anywhere else but Texas. So I decided I'm going to just move my daughter. And that's the best thing I could ever do, because now he's passed, and he was able to spend that time, quality time, with our child. He only had one child, which is our daughter. And he was able, I think if I had continued to stay in Chicago, he probably would have picked and choose when he was going to be able to come to Chicago to spend time with his daughter. But moving to Texas, where he lived, was easy. Moved to Plano, after Plano, and then I moved to Austin, where he lived. And then visitation, he didn't even need visitation. He would pick up whenever he wanted. They were able to, he bought 2 horses for them, him and our daughter. They would go on trail rides, horse rides, things. It was a great dad. Even if we have our fight here and there, who doesn't? But you guys will never hear these things. That was why I said I'm going to make a video. You guys will never find anything about me and my daughter's father. Because guess what I always did? I protected my daughter's father because of my daughter, our daughter. I didn't want her going online to see. Yeah, sometimes we will fight like big time. But nobody ever hears it because he was famous in America. He was a big-time football player. Till the day he died, up till now. Especially in Texas. He went to UT, was a big-time UT football player. I'm not going to say his name. But it always started when he played for NFL. Big time. You know, I remember sometimes people would tell me, put him out there so you can get your 15. I'm like, 15 minutes of fame. What does that do for our child? No, I'm not going to blast him out there on social media. I'm not doing that because I never wanted my daughter to grow up and read these things. She's older now. Google it. Oh, so you and my daddy was doing this. No. Now that he's passed, 6 years ago. 2019? Yeah, 6 years ago. I have nothing but good things to say to my daughter about him. Because the fight that we both fought was our fight. It had nothing to do with my daughter. Even if sometimes it has to do with, I'm picking her up at this time, it doesn't show up, it shows up when it wants to show up. But our child was innocent, right? She did not need to know all those things. All she knows now is that I loved her dad. And her dad spent time with her. She talked about stories and stuff like that. That's all she needs to know. When you put those things on social media, all because some women, they want their 15 minutes of fame because they were they were in a relationship with so famous person or a football player or an athlete. They want people to know them. They want to gain followers. But you forget there's a child that is involved that you need to protect first. So I protected my daughter's father because I had to protect our child. So by me protecting our child, I protected my daughter. Even when we dated 2.5 years before we had our kid, our daughter, you will find nothing. Not even pictures of both of us anywhere. If I didn't have my daughter with him, and I tell people like, oh, I dated so and so person, they probably would have looked at me like, okay, maybe because she's nice looking. I don't want to toot my own horn like, oh, she's pretty, she's beautiful. No, I'm just going to say, I'm not bad. I don't look bad, right? I don't look that bad. Okay, people might say, oh, maybe because she's presentable, she's nice looking, she's okay looking. I can see her dating an athlete. But some people might say, lies. But I have my daughter. And when they say, oh, when she says her last name, the first thing like, you look like so so person, are you? And then sometimes she says yes, or sometimes she doesn't want to say it because she doesn't like to say like her dad is this, her dad is that, which I love her for. But anyway, ended up dating him. So since then, my life, just see the way the story of my life, how I ended up in America. It was supposed to be a vacation, and I ended up here. My life has been wonderful since I've been in this country. And I look back and I always say, I think if I was in Nigeria, I wouldn't have been this successful or live this life that I live now. I don't think so. So I'm going to say, I know there are some, I've met people here that say this, that says it's tough. It's hard to make friends in the United States. It can be lonely, can it? I guess because I've been here since I was a teenager, right? I have a lot of friends. In Texas, not so much, but because I grew up in Chicago, went to college there, I have a lot of friends in Chicago. Okay? I was never lonely. Everybody's different. Yes, I've met people that literally, even now, they come to my place because they're lonely. Go to work, come back. Go to work, come back. It can be very lonely. Yes, it can. But I always say, it can be very lonely because a lot of Africans want to only be friends with Africans. Or a lot of Nigerians only want to be friends with Nigerians too. So if you live in a place, or you're the kind of person that you really don't know where to go, or you just go to work, come back home, go to work, come back home. Yes, it's going to be lonely because we as human beings, we need other human beings sometimes around us, right? So I say be open-minded. You don't only have to be friends with Nigerians or Africans. Be friends with people that you meet at work, people that you come across, people that you have a pass through with. Be friends, be open-minded. I have friends, I have Caucasian friends, I have African-American friends. My daughter's father was African-American. I've only dated one Nigerian guy, and that was my first boyfriend. Every other guy that I've dated were white or Americans, British, white, American. Like I always say, the way I date is if you can make me happy, and I like people that you respect me, I respect you. Everything has to be reciprocal. You make me happy. My number one thing is that, am I happy with you? I don't care about the color of your skin, or if you're African or not. My daughter's father was African American. I've dated white, I've dated British white, I've dated Caucasian American, I've dated Hispanic, Latin, Puerto Rican, name it. I am a free willy, open as a free bird. That's how I see myself. I would date, I'm friends with all Indians, Asians. I'm friends with everybody. I will sit down, tell you my story, you tell me yours, I don't care. Color of your skin really doesn't matter to me. I'm friends with African Americans, love everybody. So I would say if you're lonely, it's because you're closed-minded. Sometimes, not every time. So I'm not going to generalize it, but from my experience, people that I've seen, they're only looking for, they want to only go hang out in African parties. They're only looking for Africans or Nigerians to be friends with. It's going to be hard, especially if you live in a state or city. There's not a lot of Africans. Even if it's a lot, you have to go to a certain part. And then it can be difficult when you just get here with no siblings, no relative, no, like you just come to America on a lottery or something. Yeah, it can be very lonely, it can be boring, it can be difficult for you to find your foot. For you to be able to land and say, yes, I fully landed. So I always say, ask. A closed mouth doesn't get fed. If you close your mouth every time, nobody ever knows. You have to open your mouth and ask. Ask questions. Ask people, talk to people, even at a grocery store, excuse me, that's me. Ain't no shame in my game. Welcome to the United States of America. Ask. A lot of Nigerians, especially if it's called Johnny Just Come, they want to keep quiet. But in Nigeria, you were a noisemaker. You come to America, what's the difference? No. You have to open up your mouth, open up your heart and your mind and your soul. America is not as hard as people think. You just have to learn to open your mouth and talk and ask questions. and mingle. You have to mingle. It don't matter who, black, white, because you guys are so picky and only looking for Nigerians or Africans to mingle with, to connect with. You guys don't know where my life has ended up by connecting, by talking, by not being shy, by not being ashamed, by not being anything, just being me, being Naomi. Not being afraid to walk into any room. Raise your head up, are you Nigerian, you African? Pride, proud. I can walk into any room right from when I was little. I don't care who you are. I will look at you straight in your eye. Hi, hello, introduce myself. Confident. A lot of Nigerians, don't put your head down. Put your head up. We're all humans. At the end of the day, don't matter if you're white or black. At the end of the day, you're just dealing with another human being. Forget about Oyibo or not. That's the advice I can give. If not, you're going to be so lonely that you're going to want to go back to Nigeria or go back to the country you came from. So I'm going to leave this here. I hope you guys have enjoyed my story. I still have more stories to tell, but I just wanted you guys to know how I ended up here. My life is good, thank God. It's great, thank God. I give all thanks to God. I have a beautiful 16-year-old daughter today, thank God. I don't know what my life would have turned out to be in Nigeria. I also didn't want to rely on my parents because money comes and goes. My parents used to be very wealthy, but now they're okay. My mom doesn't need anybody to feed her. She still has businesses. She still can take care of herself. She lives a great life. But is she as wealthy as she used to be? No. She's okay now. She's rich now. I would say she's very rich now in Nigeria, but no. Wealthy? No. In a lower billionaire, yes, in Naira, in Nigeria. But she used to be like high billionaire in Nigeria. But the lower billionaire now, very low billionaire, yes, she has a lot of assets in Nigeria still. But the way I grew up compared to the way I grew up with money, compared to the way she is now, completely different. So life changed. So I always sometimes ask myself, what would my life have been if I never left Nigeria to stay in America? I guess we'll never know. Hope you guys enjoyed my story. Leave a comment. What do you guys think? And as you're watching, have you subscribed yet? I have so many stories to tell. And I'm going to keep telling my story. If you have your own story, leave a comment. Let me know. I respond to comment. Rude comment, I don't respond. If I respond, I'm going to tell you not to come on my platform and be disrespectful. Leave your comments. Leave your opinions. What's your experience? Let me know. Which country are you at? What was your experience? What's your experience in that country? Even in Nigeria, what's your experience? Would you like to leave Nigeria, as they say Jackba or something like that? Leave a comment. And I thank you guys for listening. And have you subscribed? If you haven't subscribed and you're watching, subscribe to my channel. Like it, share it. I love you guys. And thank you for watching and listening to me. This is my platform. The reason why I opened this platform for me to be able to open my mind and talk about my story and tell you guys there's always light at the end of the tunnel. I cannot say that enough. So don't mind my crying. I'm a crybaby, you know, but I respect everybody that have made an impact in my life. I appreciate them and I pray for them every day. No matter if it was 20, 30 years ago, but there are some things that we should never forget, and I pray for them every day. And if you ever see this, thank for making an impact in my life when I moved to America. Love you guys. Bye.